Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. That's Ephesians 6:4. And now, here's Reverend Sue.
Got joy in my soul. God is in control. I got Satan on my trail, but I'm singing all is well. He's attacking every day, but I'm watching while I pray. No matter the attack, I won't turn back.
Good evening, my brother and sister, and thank you for joining us today. We are so excited to have as our guest Minister Douglas Smith, and he is the president of the Southern Leadership Conference of the District of Columbia chapter. And guess what? He's a father, he's a grandfather, and we just found out today that he was going to be a second grandfather. In other words, he's going to have 2 grandchildren. So we shout out to him, because I know from talking to him and knowing him a little bit that he is so much into his grandchildren as well as his children. So we thank God for him today. Minister Smith, when we thought about just thinking about Father's Day, well, I have a little thing about Father's Day. I get this over. Father's Day is my birthday. It's today as well, so I have to share with fathers. But when we think about Father's Day, I thought about releasing the fathers who have been caught up in lies about who he is, the father, the black father. Who am I? Perhaps because he does not have an opportunity to raise his children. Perhaps his relationship with his friend or the wife did not allow him to do that. Perhaps someone is angry because he got caught up in child support and they really took him for everything that he could possibly have. And I thought about that father who is trying to raise his children, and he keep getting the turn off for a job and not having enough money to even pay the finances that it costs to raise children. And he gave up and he closed the door, and now the children are not involved with him. I think about that father who did not have a father, and that stepfather came in and gave him what he needed to raise that son. Because I know that black fathers, many, and we don't hear it in the media, that are doing the best they could do and doing an excellent job. And that's why we have you here today to talk about the black father. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Reverend Sue.
And so you're being that father, and I know that you're up to date on the media, but I would like to start out with one thing first so we can get this out the way, is that there was a study done by CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. It was back in 2010, but it took about 3 or 4 or 5 years to do this study. And what they found out that most black fathers are the most engaged fathers of all races in this country.
I heard about that study.
Yes. So what do you think about that as a father?
Well, as a father, it's good that the CDC is acknowledging that black men are great fathers. That's a good thing. And it also shows me and tells me that the multimedia, the social media, and all other kinds of media are really denigrating and downgrading and operating in opposition to that CDC study, because they seem to project and promote a negative stereotype of the black man, which of course is translated and transferred down to the black father. So black fathers aren't getting their due in the multimedia, in the social media, and even at the kitchen table. Black men are not getting their due, but we have to hang in there as black men and continue to fight the good fight, continue to be good fathers, because our children need us and we need them. We need family. So a black father is really the head of an organization that the whole of society pivots on or stands on, and that's the nuclear family. I mean, and it seems like even today that the nuclear family is under attack, but especially the Black father and the Black woman and the Black family.
So you as a minister, and you relate to so many different people throughout this area, as well as throughout the United States, because you're so heavily involved. What can you tell? What can we do as a community? As a community, and we're doing it with the show. But what can we do as a community to stop? We as a people to stop being so negative about the Black man, the Black father.
How long is this show? Because we could talk about this subject that you just brought up all day long.
We don't have all day.
I hear you. What we have to do is we have to do what, and I am a Black minister, and I believe the gospel of Christ, and I'm a Christian, and I believe that what we have to do is to fight. We have to stand up and fight. And it's not a carnal fight where we're going to take our guns and go down to the square and square off with people and start shooting. It's a spiritual warfare. It's a mental fight. We have to stay engaged. We have to, no matter what we hear in the media and even see in our own families, because some of our own families will take that media and run with it. We have to fight for what's right. We have to stand up and fight to be men. That means we have to do our best in whatever we undertake. If we go into school, we have to be the best in that. And when we graduate, matriculate through higher education, and come out into a world where we're going to try to start a career, we have to do the best, be the best, and know that we're going to run up against opposition. We have an adversary at the spiritual level. And I know you may not want to get into that here, but it's called Satan, it's called the devil. But in the Bible, it's also referred to as an adversary. And Black men have to know that on a practical level, on the ground floor, at the bottom line, we have an adversary. And we have to deal with that adversary. We have to fight them. We have to fight to get jobs. We have to fight to buy houses. We have to fight to live where we want to live. We have to fight for our wives so that they will be lifted up in society and held up. And even sometimes we have to fight against our wives to be wives and fight against our own nature to be men. So it's a major fight going on that Black people are going through, and Black men in particular. Because we have to do battle against the adversary, and sometimes, as they say, we are our own worst enemy, against the predilections that we undertake and want to be about in society. You see it every day, young men and middle-aged men and even older men. I'm an older man now. I'm tempted by this hip-hop culture. I'm telling you, it looks like it's fun. They be out there what we used to call back in the day, bebopping and hip-hopping. Well, that's not no fun is not a sin, but you have to have your priorities straight. And as Black men, we have to get our priorities straight. And the battle at hand is the highest of the priorities, where we fight for our children so that they can be raised in a way that they will be strong and prepared for what they're going to face. And they're our progeny. They're the ones who are going to face it when we are gone. So we have to prepare for them and prepare them and then set them on their way. And that, Reverend Sue, I think is a fight. It's a battle, especially in this culture that we're in, called the United States of America, where we know that we, from the beginning of our involvement in this area as a group, we know that we've been put at bottom. We've been denigrated. We've been down put. And then we have to fight our way up. And we've been fighting for 400 years, and the fight goes on. So I think the main thing is to engage, to be aware, to be focused, and to be woke. I want us to be not ashamed to use that word woke, because the political and even the religious right want to denigrate even the words that come out of our culture that means positive things. They try to flip it and make it negative. Those are the fights that we have to engage as men, and we have to be prepared, and we have to stand. And when we've done all that we can, we just stand and declare we are Black men. We are proud of it. We know that we are of God, and that we are going to be here because we've been fighting this fight for 400 years, and we're still here.
So fighting the fight for 400 years still has something to do with that Black father image.
It absolutely,
yeah,
it does.
Connected.
It does.
So from that standpoint, you are a father, and you also put so much emphasis and does so much with you as a grandfather.
Yeah.
So it continues, right? Being that father involved, now you're a grandfather involved.
Yeah.
You probably be a great grandfather involved.
Yeah.
So it starts somewhere. It starts somewhere. If
Oh,
we
yeah.
have, do you think that, how do you think about our cultural, you kind of mentioned a little bit, but the culture as the Black father, and I'm particularly saying not Father's Day, but I'm talking about the Black Father's Day. Okay. So I'm particularly saying that because I was blessed to have a great father. And when I move around and did so many different things and talked to so many people as a minister and as a counselor, now a social gerontologist, I meet people. They're older people, and they never knew their father. They never knew their father. And I meet people. One lady told me one day, and we shouted, an older person, and she said she met her father for the first time when she was 18 years old. And that was the best experience she ever had in her life. The best experience she ever had in her life. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't her fault. It had something to do with her mother. It had something to do with her father. It had something to do with parents, keeping secrets, keeping things away, and not being true. And I mentioned that early at the beginning, not being true to thyself.
Yeah.
Tell the truth.
Well,
Tell the truth. And release the hurt and the pain when children grow up and they find out the truth sometime. And now they blame their mom and their dad. Parents, tell the truth. The truth will hurt, but tell the truth.
When you want to talk about culture, Reverend Sue, and those things are a part of our culture, coming from a group of people that were devastated by slavery, devastated by all kinds of events that happened during slavery, during the birth of slavery, and across the Middle Passage, where men and women were degraded and destroyed. There is a culture that we have brought up, that we have been brought up in, as I should say. And so there is an onus on fathers. Let me just put this in. Anytime a person or a group or a nation is about to engage in warfare, the first target that the enemy, that the adversary goes after is the father, the men of that nation, because they know that if they destroy the men, they destroy the ones who they're doing battle with, they will win the war. But I'm going to bring it all the way back from there to the personal level when you were asking me a personal question. I knew my father all my life. I knew him, but that was my stepfather. And when I say all my life, there was a brief period. There was a brief period, and it was tragic to me. I never knew my biological father. But you hear people talking about today about men not wanting to marry a woman who has children. But I know that that's somebody's personal opinion, and it's a reality that some men don't want to take on the burden of another man's child. But I thank God that my mother found a man who loved her enough to marry her, and she had 3 children. She had 3 children, and he brought us into his orbit, into his world. And I'm gonna tell you, I can thank God for Nathaniel Reed, because that's his name. And he showed me he wasn't a perfect person. He wasn't a minister. I'm a minister today, but he wasn't a minister. But he showed me what a man should do, and he took care of us. He showed us a home that we lived in what you call an extended family situation. Grandparents, and I love my grandmother, my grandfather. And when I think about my grandfather, man, I think he was the greatest person in the world. But I'm gonna tell you, when you're in a nuclear family, when you got a father, and and he was respected in the neighborhood, and that's another story if you want to talk about it. But why he was respected was for his livelihood, and what he did was like on the left side of society. So he wasn't maybe your law-abiding citizen, but he provided for a family. I remember when he came home that morning, my mother was so happy. He had bought us a new house out into a place on the outskirts of a small town in North Carolina called Goldsboro. Man, you don't know how happy I was. There was so many rooms in there compared to where we were living before, and I was running around, and it was just running around, and I looked back at him, and he was smiling. He was a man, and he had brought life to 3 kids that were not his own. And then he and my mother, they had 2 other kids. They had 3 kids, but one was born at birth, died at birth. That's a man, and he was a father. And so, yes, you don't have to have a nuclear family headed by a biological father. That's ideal. That's great. That's what happened in my situation. I'm a biological father of all my kids, and we were in a nuclear family. And that happened because of what Nathaniel Reed did with 3 kids that weren't his biological, but he took care of them, and nurtured them, and raised them in the love and admonition of a father. And so we were able to go out in my adult life and live because I knew a father. I knew that he would die for us. I knew that he brought home groceries. I knew that he put us in a decent house. I knew that when I walked around, that's Nat's son over there. That's Nat's son. Talking about me. I belong to somebody. Because I remember, I could even go back before him. I went to a Cub Scout meeting one time. My mother she was trying to find stuff for me to do as mothers do. And she put me in the Cub Scouts, and I went to the meeting by myself. Every kid in that meeting had a father. This is in that little town in Goldsboro, North Carolina. And I didn't. And I felt like to be. I said, wow, when I get to be a man, I'm never going to let my son come to a meeting like this by himself. That was the thought of a 6-year-old. God sent Nathaniel Reed was a blessing in my life. Don't have to be biological. You can be a stepfather. But the key part to that word is father. No matter about step, bio, whatever, father is the key. And this day that we come to separate on, we better not forget about stepfather. We better not forget about grandfather. We better not forget about people who are not even in the role of a stepfather, but they are a father figure. Fatherhood. That's the key thing. And it's a whole different case, but here is something that's important that we should just express and just share. The Bible was talking about David and his best friend. What was his name? Nathan? Was it? I can't remember his name right now, but David had a good friend. And they were like brothers. They were like blood brothers. They was closer than ever, but they were not blood brothers. They were just good friends. And in the same Bible, it says, sometimes, that natural, the biological is good, but the spiritual is better. And I had a spiritual connection with him because I loved it. He brought order, stability, security, all those things that fathers bring into my life. He brought it to me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when he died, that was a tragic, tragic day in my life because I lost something that I looked up to. And I learned bravery from him. I would go into a fight. When I was a kid, I would fight. I'm going to tell you, I would fight. I was a scraggly, skinny kid. But I would go into a fight because somehow I knew that if I wouldn't win, I still had a father at home who would come. He would look after me. He would probably even take care of some people for me. You know what I mean? He would go to bat for me. So that's the importance of a father. Don't have to be biological. To be a stepfather. To be an older brother playing the role of a father. That's why I say, how much time do you have on this show today? Because I'm telling you can talk about a father forever. Our Father who art in heaven. That's what a father is.
I really appreciate you because one thing about you, you tell it like it is. You tell the truth. And like you said, stepfather, when a man take on another man's child or children and raise those children.
Yeah.
What a gift. What is a gift from God?
That's right.
What a gift from God. And so during Father's Day, let's not, like you said, not forget the men who stepped in.
The
men who stepped in and raised another man's child.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still a father. And still adding the beauty of the community.
Yeah.
The beauty of the cultural.
Right.
Yes. So with that, if you had to, because now we have young fathers, we have we have the Gen Xers, we have the millennials now becoming fathers. Give us some advice that we need to continue our conversation, to continue our way of uplifting our Black men in our community in reference to as a father.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, we as a community do have to just do what you just said, uplift our black men. That's not to say that we should not uh, punish them when they go wrong, or or admonish them when they do wrong. That's not what is good for a kid, especially a boy. When he do wrong, he should be told he should do he's doing wrong. And I know my grandfather, for one, and my grandmother, they would not allow you to do wrong and get away with. Because I know I can remember some childhood stories. I remember my uncle one time told me that because he saw me acting up, and I didn't think that I could get punished because I didn't think I would get caught. But but I had a grandmother. She was a petite little person. But my uncle said he passed away now. He said, "Douglas, you better watch yourself." He said, "Mama can grab you with one hand and slap you with the same hand at the same time." And I remember even my grandfather taking that belt to me. So I didn't spare not the rod because he won't. You have to punish children. You have to raise them in the right way. If I'm answering your question, but so yeah, we have to punish them, but we don't have to degrade them. Sometimes I see today that the black man is being degraded. He's being just minimized, being muffled. You know what I mean? He's being stunted. Pastor Nuttall was preaching on a sermon series these past few weeks about don't stunt my growth. We are stunting our black men's growth, and we have to stop that. And black men have to stop stunting themselves, because it's a true saying when we say you're your own worst enemy. When you look at two situations, a fork in the road, and you come up to a high road, a place where you can go to school and go to some sort of higher learning to better your life, or you can see a low road where you go to it's fun, it's gambling, it's hip hop, it's drugs, it's a short-lived life that you cannot grow in. And we have to make a choice. Too many of us are making the wrong choice. We're stunting our own growth as individual men. So we have to start showing as a society, as a culture, we have to start showing our men as children the better choice. And I know that some people are going to make the wrong choice no matter what. But when they make the wrong choice and become aware that they made the wrong choice, we have to be there for them when they try to come back, when they try to get back to the middle so that they can go to the right. We have to be there for them. We can't just be throwing our children on a dung heap because they made a mistake in life and went down the wrong road. We have to be there for them when they come back so that they can start again or start from where they left off and make the best out of their lives that they can. It helps our culture. They'll have a testimony. They'll be able to tell their kids or somebody who's in close proximity and family or friends, kids, don't go down that road. I've been down there, and I'm telling you, it's not a good way to go. Some kids won't even listen to him, but some will. And those are the ones that we have to project and try to intercept, the ones that we can. And if everybody's not going to do anything, but if the majority of us, if all of us get together and try to do the best that we can, we will move. We will rise. And I'm not one of them doom cries. I look at where we came from, and I know that we have done a mighty work on this earth as a people, but there's still more work to do because the devil is a liar, and he's still trying to cast us down. And I didn't take this off into a political story, but I could. We see what we're fighting in the world against, and black men have to see that and know that they can't do that in some crack house somewhere, nodding into a drug stupor and involving themselves in drug-driven crime. We have to decry that. We have to show them and the world that we are not criminal sympathizers. We don't like crime, and they try to put that on our community. And black men have got to stand up and say no to crime. We don't like crime. We're not going to stand still for them criminalizing us and having a two-tier criminal justice system where black men suffer for the same crime so perversely more than the white people. But that's another story.
That's another story. That's another show. That's another show. Minister Smith, that's another show. Thank you, Minister Doug Smith. And I would like to just say this 1 second. And God put it on my heart. for the fathers who have not been able to tell the truth, that they do have a child, perhaps they have children out there in the world, and people don't know about it. Face it, because we're here to embrace the people who are hiding and hurting because that truth has not been told.
Yes.
Don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait until it's too late. Do
Right.
it now. And I would like to end the show with that. Do it now, fathers, when you know you have children and you hid it for whatever reason, and it's a secret in your life, face it.
Do it.
And I guarantee you, people are to embrace you, the truth. They would embrace the truth. So we thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Mr. Smith. And we thank our producer, Mike Green, as well as a part of our team, Damon Mace, for doing an outstanding job with all of our shows. And for our listeners, happy Father's Day. And may God continue to bless you. But when there's a negative thing said about the Black father, there's also something positive to say about the Black father. And make sure that we will not forget that and do it, whether it's in our church, whether it's in our community, whether it's in our home. If it's negative, there's always something positive. It's our responsibility to do that. So continue to tune in, YouTube. Thank God for you.
Thank you.
'Cause you're a good, good father. It's who you are. Come on, Zion. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. That's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Oh, and I